All right, guys, we are live. Today we're going to react to the Sixers 109-101 loss to the Boston Celtics. Game 1 goes down in the books. The Sixers took the L. Today we're going to talk about the top takeaways. We're going to do some player grades. And let's introduce our guest today. And first up is my man. He is the co-host of Party on Broad. He is Rob. Check him out on Twitter at Phillies_Madness. What's going on, Rob?
Josh Richardson is my new Mark Simino, Kirk Coleman, just a guy I'm just going
Mark
to.
Simino. Oh my God! Wow, what a name that
That's
is.
where I am in instant reaction. Now tomorrow I could back off of that, but right now that's the instant reaction.
I'm going to fully admit, guys, before we get started, I was drinking the Josh Richardson Kool-Aid this offseason. Man, was I wrong. Also joining us today is my man, Austin. He is Krell TPL on Twitter. He does the Feed to Embiid podcast. Check them out on Twitter at the Feed to Embiid. What's going on? What's going on, man?
You know what? I'm used to it at this point. I'm just, I see the team for what they are. They're very flawed, and that's what it is. I mean, we're trying to find a whimsical way of them to win the series, but realistically, for what purpose? They're not going to get out of the second round of the playoffs. They might not win a game in the second round of the playoffs. So what's the point?
All right. Also joining us today is my man, Tiago. He is
okay. Next
on Twitter. What is up, Tiago?
Hey, man, who knew we were one Alec Burks away from being a championship contender? Who knew? But this team has so much potential. They can put an Alec Burks in there and actually look competitive. But to Austin's point, there's so many flaws. So many flaws.
So many flaws. I don't even know where to begin with. I think personally, we talk about top takeaways from this game. It's the storyline of this game really boils down to offensive boards and turnovers by the Sixers. I know the Sixers only had a few turnovers in that second half, but man, there's no way you get out rebounded on the offensive glass by the Boston Celtics. At one point in the fourth quarter, the Celtics had 16 offensive boards to just 7 turnovers. Just the second chance points. That just can't happen, guys. When you're missing Ben Simmons, that just can't happen if you're trying to beat the Boston Celtics. Tiago, lead us off, man. What's the takeaway of this game?
So I think exactly what you're talking about, Chris. I went back and I looked at Toronto's game 7 and tonight's game. That's 32 offensive rebounds in 2 games, 2 critical playoff games. So, I mean, right off the bat, you're talking about, a team that's not ready to compete at a very high level on the glass. And I think that goes to coaching. It goes to your players, your front court players. But also, Boston did make an adjustment. They put in Robert Williams, who is a much more active player on the glass. And Philadelphia didn't quite have an answer for it. And he was very active in his limited time. Got Jaylen Brown a ton of open looks, him and Enes Kanter. So it's something to monitor because, you cannot win having 16 offensive rebounds a game. That's just unacceptable. So,
Quick question.
Go ahead, Austin. Sure.
Is it me or is Robert Williams incredibly low IQ as a basketball player?
I'm surprised he made the flight to the bubble.
I'm surprised that no one was like, "Hey, your order's here," and they walked him to the edge of campus. He steps out, the lights are going off, the siren is "Oh man, they got me."
Oh man, just Robert Williams, Grant. I think it's Grant Williams. These guys are just hustling on the offensive glass and just continuously killing the Sixers. Rob, any take on the Sixers game right here?
Yeah. Where do I start? No, I think the offensive rebound is definitely a problem. And to me, when you look at offensive rebound, that's hustle. And you got out-hustled. You got outmanned by a smaller team. You allowed them to let their athleticism dictate the boards rather than your brute strength. You played bully ball for a little bit there in the third quarter. You saw what happened. You stopped. Tobias Harris, once again, came up small. He's got to score more than 13, 15 points. He has to. And a couple of his shots were just ill-advised, too quick. They came before Joel Embiid touched the ball in the offense, which shouldn't happen. And then, listen, Josh Richardson was a momentum killer, but not for the Celtics, for the Sixers. Every time the Sixers got something going, he'd have a turnover or a bad shot, or he just would make a stupid play. And the other thing was, we talked about this previewing. No Ben Simmons. listen, Tatum went nuts in the first half. They kind of eliminated him for a heavy stretch of the second half, but then Jaylen Brown went nuts. And it's because outside of Matisse, no one on the perimeter is good enough defensively, including our aforementioned Josh Richardson, who that's what we were sold on.
Yeah, man. How about you, Austin?
I mean, we can try to diagnose this thing as much as we want. And, truth be told, I think it comes down to a lot of things. And I think a lot of those differences, that they're the difference between the Sixers and other teams. Look at the offensive boards. Celtics had 16. They didn't have a 16 offensive rebound game in the 4 regular season games against the Sixers. They had 16 offensive rebounds tonight. Sixers turned the ball over 18 times. So the Celtics, drum roll please, 7. So, 11 turnover differential. Celtics took 90 shots. Sixers took 80 shots. Celtics got to the line 26 times. Sixers 23. Celtics made 10 threes. Sixers made 9. The difference in the game isn't coming from the charity stripe, and it isn't coming from the three-point looks. It's about valuing the basketball every possession. It's about closing the possession out with fundamentals. Don't you want to work hard on your defense and then have it be rewarded with proper fundamentals, like boxing a guy out? Robert Williams takes a jump shot from the mid-range, and it's not even close to going into the basket. The one brain cell he has told him to shoot a jump shot. I think with 4 times left on the clock, he takes a jump shot, misses it short, gets his own offensive rebound. You have to want the game more than your opponent. And tonight, it felt like the Sixers did not want it more than the Celtics. The Celtics went in there and they took it. And this game was as bad as the Sixers were at times, and it looked clunky and whatnot. The game was very winnable. It was very winnable. You gave up, again, 16 offensive rebounds. That's 16 second chance opportunities. Celtics got open three-point looks off of. So that's what it comes down to. Execute the fundamentals. Finish your possessions out. That's how you win games down the stretch. The Toronto, the Boston, the Miamis, the Bucks, the teams out west, name them. They all had the fundamentals down pat. And that's why they're in a lot better spot than the Sixers are right now.
My other takeaway of this game, and I go straight, like you said, Austin, as shitty as the Sixers played, they were in this game with 5 minutes remaining. It was a one-possession game, 94-91, with 5 minutes remaining in this game. And I made a tweet there, this is time for Tobias Harris, for Joel Embiid to step up. And, a lot of talk on, Philly Sports Radio was this is the time for Joel Embiid to show he's a top 5 MVP type of player. And, man, those guys combined had 4 points. Both were from the free throw line. So that's not good enough. That's as disheartening as this loss was. Yeah, they were in this game. Yeah, they had, it was game 1, playoff jitters, all of that crap. Man, your best guys have to step up, and that's not good enough. And that's where I'm just kind of deflated, is that Embiid, at one point, at one stretch, when it was a one-possession game, Embiid didn't even touch the ball. So, and then you see Josh Richardson play hero ball. It is like you said, Tiago, there are so many flaws on this team. And I'm so frustrated.
We do have somewhat breaking news. Boston's Gordon Hayward will undergo an MRI on his sprained right ankle tonight. Sources tell Malika Andrews and me not being me being Woj, of course. my sources don't run that deep.
You're in the bubble. You're in the bubble right now.
Limping in the fourth quarter. So Gordon Hayward's status is to be determined for game 2. Could be something to keep in mind.
All right.
I tell you, it's one of those things where actually for a while there, I was like, okay, Al Horford can guard Gordon Hayward because he's not very fast. But it's if he goes out, they're just going to bring another athletic wing in, because then it's oh, okay, that's fun. At one point tonight, somebody tell me if I'm wrong. This was early in the game, but it almost looked like the Sixers came out in a 1-3-1 with Al Horford at the top, and Kemba Walker missed the 3. And I'm sitting here going, oh, God, I don't know if I want to see that again, because Kemba had 30 feet in front of him to shoot the ball.
Yeah, Boston is not the team we play in the zone against. I don't know. You guys may have a different take on that, but it's those guys can shoot, man. So I don't know. They're in a tough spot, man. They're in a tough spot.
Well, this was the game I think you had to take. I really do. I think if you were going to really be in this series. You had to come in and kind of shock them a little bit in game one. And, we've been saying here, well, they played bad and they were in it. I feel like we've been saying that for 3 years. I feel like with the Sixers, we've been saying for 3 years, oh, man, but, they didn't even play well and look how close they were. They just put it all together. Well, when? When are they going to? And that's where it comes back to, and it pains me to say this, you all know it, that's where it comes back to Brett's just not going to be able to get the job done. I think he's too one-dimensional in what his system is. I don't think his personnel meets what his system is, and I don't think he can adjust. Brad Stevens is excellent because he can adjust on the fly. Like Boston, I wanted to punch Boston fans in the face a couple years ago, and they wanted to fire Brad Stevens. That makes zero sense. The guy could just flat-out coach basketball. Brett's too one-dimensional, and that's going to be his downfall here, is that he was never able to adjust to the players he had.
Yeah, you look at – wait, hold on, Tiago. You look at the box score. I'm just going to piggyback off of that, and I'll throw it right back to you, Tiago. This was the game the Sixers needed to get the W. You look at Tatum. I mean, he was held with, 10 points in that second half. Kemba Walker was basically non-existent, 7 of 16. Not the Kemba Walker we're used to seeing. Marcus Smart, 32 minutes, 2 points. That wasn't – they didn't play a great game either. So go ahead, Tiago.
Yeah, on just Rob's coaching point. I mean, let's go back again to last year's Toronto game and those last 3 possessions. What were they trying to get accomplished those last 3 possessions? Do you guys remember? Because I was kind of at loss of words.
Typical Sixers basketball, man.
And again, today, same thing with Boston. You say you're down 3. What is your go-to play? You have to have a play that you can run over and again. You can get buckets either at the free throw line or whatever. But the Sixers don't seem to have an identity late in games, and that seems to play itself over and over again. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. That does go back to coaching. So, we keep looking at that, and I think it's something to monitor because these teams are, for all the holes that the Sixers have, they're evenly matched. I mean, the Sixers do give Boston some issues. So these games are going to come down to late game execution over and again. And Philadelphia does not seem to have any type of cohesive late game offense.
Yep. Any final takes, and we'll go to player grades. Anybody?
I have another monologue.
Go ahead.
So we all want to give Brett Brown a lot of blame for this because it's the easy way out. It's easier to accept that Brett Brown, it must be the problem. It's all on him. He okayed the roster. They have 2 star players. Why aren't they winning games? What do we do, or what do fans do when it comes to the point where there's a new coach in here and things are better, but the same mistakes are being made? At what point do the players at some point have to take it upon themselves to actually come out and dedicate themselves to finishing games and finishing possessions? Brett Brown can preach high IQ, boxing out, whatever he wants. At the end of the day, you have to box guys out. You have to make faster reads out of the post. You have to not commit live ball turnovers and slow down the pace of your possessions. At some point, the fans are going to have to maybe accept the fact that, okay, maybe it isn't the coach. Maybe it's the people on the court. And do I think it's, do I think that that's going to be the solution this year? No, ultimately they're going to fire Brett Brown. That's obviously going to happen sooner rather than later. But there comes a time when you have to just look at the pieces on the court and say, you have to be responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
You have to play the game better. You have to, if you want to win, this is what it takes to win.
I was saying to Dodge before we came on, like, I know I'm putting a lot of blame on Brett, but you guys know me and Brett. Like, Brett shares the blame, but the way that people want to make it 100% about him is dead wrong. These guys are NBA players, right? They're grown men, okay? So the coach, where there is a role, I don't think it's as big as our fans want to make it out. Like, you're right, Austin. At the end of a game, like, look at Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray today, okay? They weren't coached to do that. They had that inside of them to go out there and make every friggin' shot they took at the end of that game. We haven't seen that from anyone on the Sixers. And yeah, Could Brett run better plays? Sure. But sometimes plays break down and you need Donovan Mitchell. Jess would be killing me for giving Donovan Mitchell any credit right now.
He was a dog today. He was fucking
incredible.
He was a dog. At the end of the game, he was a dog. That's not coaching. That's players. And the Sixers players, no matter who the coach is, eventually, Joel Embiid included, need to figure that the hell out.
But here's the thing, though. If your best player is going to be your center, then you need your center to grow his game and not just be a post-up guy. Because we saw that against Boston. Like, guys were just clogging. There were 3 or 4 guys just swarmed around them. So part of it is on Joel to step up his game and grow his game more as a rim roller, a three-point shooter, whatever. But ultimately, you need the coach to hold him accountable and get in his ear and make him, not make him, but help him grow his game. And I just don't think that's happening with Brett any longer. I mean, I don't see that with Joel or Ben for that matter. So.
And that's why I think, Brett absolutely deserve some blame, and he's going to lose his job. Like, there's no doubt about it. I just think what Austin's saying is kind of what I've been trying to preach for years, that this idea that it's all Brett and no one else, it's such a fan idea, and it's because it's the easy way out. No one wants to think. They just want to go right after the guy at the top. And sometimes it can be warranted. I don't know. I don't think the roster – it has enough dogs on it. And I mean, I've been screaming about that for a couple of years now.
Right.
It's a major issue. Yeah, major issue. We've seen it over and over and over again, like Tiago said.
And for me, one thing is like yes, it is 1,000,000% on Brett Brown to put in a directive. Hey, the ball needs to be in Joel's hands every possession in the last 4 minutes of this game. If they double him into turnovers, so be it. He turns the ball over. He's something that he's going to have to grow through eventually. But that's it. You can't say, oh, well, it's Brett Brown's fault for not being creative enough with how he gets Joel Embiid the ball. What more can he do other than set cross screens, run a flex offense, get him looks at the rim? He does all of those things. Ultimately, it's on the players to move well off ball. Josh Richardson cannot be standing in one spot ball watching for 25 seconds in a row. Tobias Harris has to come in and make shots. Al Horford has to play smarter. It can't be on Brett to make everybody be better. They have to show heart, be NBA players, and simply execute down the stretch. And so, you know what? If they can't do that, then hey, maybe this whole process thing, maybe they botched it a long time ago. And I know that's like pushing the red, the alert button, and the big scary button. But at some point, players have to execute. It can't just be the coach's fault all the time.
All right, let's move on to quick player grades, guys. Let's start off with Al Horford, 31 minutes, 6 points. He was a -18. That is a team worst -18. He did have 6 assists, 7 rebounds, 3 turnovers. Basically, his 2 main, moments in this game. One was a kind of a statement bucket on Jason Tatum where you saw him kind of scream. That was fun. But the other main moment here was the flop by Jaylen Brown. You saw Jaylen just, almost like a soccer flop, holding on the ground, holding his head. It wasn't even touched. He wasn't even touched. And that kind of sparked a huge run by the Celtics, 18-5 run. Tiago, how would you grade Al Horford this game?
I was pleasantly surprised by how he defended Jaylen Brown. I mean, you can tell he's completely out of position when Boston spreads the court and he's got to chase Jaylen all over the place. I thought he did an admirable job. Obviously, when Joel is on the bench, the rim protection continues to be an issue when he's on the court as a center. So you have the good and the bad with Al. I think that for me, I would give him a solid B-. I think, you want more offensively from him, but I think overall he did okay.
Now, what about you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I was ready to give him a B- B in that area until you said he's -18. I didn't realize that stat was there. I mean, I just think you're going to get what you're going to get out of Al Horford. You can't worry about his contract when you think about his on-floor production. It's just not going to match up. Okay, but I thought Al did some good things tonight. That flagrant foul does end up hurting him. I don't think it should be a flagrant, but in today's NBA, they're going to call it a flagrant anytime there's a whip involved, and that's kind of sort of what happened. But I'm going to stick with the B- because I think Al did some good things. Would like to see him in the double digits, though, with the points.
All right. Austin.
One thing I will say about Al Horford was that it was pretty embarrassing to watch him get just completely crushed and swallowed up by the Celtics, especially after, he's supposed to know the Celtics system. He's supposed to, be an assassin for the Sixers in the series. They were swarming him with doubles, keeping active hands, and deflecting his passes out, forcing him to turn the ball over 3 times in this game. Minus 18 is not a good reflection of how important he was. He did have 4 of his 6 points in the third quarter, 1 to tie the game up, 2 to take the lead. I think he was a significant reason why the Sixers were up 4 going into the fourth quarter instead of down 16. They won the minutes that Joel was off the court because of Al. I'll give Al a B-.
Yeah, I think B- is fair. I thought he locked up Gordon Hayward pretty well too. Yeah. So no issues with Al Horford. Like you said, Rob, you got to throw out the contract when you're talking about Mr. Al Horford. Let's move on to Tobias Harris, 15 points, 39 minutes. Started out the game well. Him and Joel had 12 of the first 14 points in the first quarter. Started out the third quarter really well. Him and Shake kind of were going ham, and then just stopped. And they just when you needed Tobias to get you a bucket, it just didn't happen. Tiago, what grade would you give Tobias?
How many 3-point attempts did he have? 2 or 3?
He was 0 for 3.
It's inconceivable in a game where Boston is clearly caving in on Joel Embiid that Tobias Harris has only 3-point attempts. I can't believe it. I mean, you can see almost every time down the court, Tobias wide open for a 3. And the ball either didn't swing to him, or when it did, he would just take 1 or 2 dribbles and try to drive into, his usual Tobias kind of thing. So, I mean, I wrote about this before. I mean, the Sixers need Tobias Harris to understand his role offensively. That is, hit open shots and be a secondary playmaker. And I don't think Tobias has bought into that yet entirely, and it's a problem in the series. I mean, he's going to have to understand that his value is hitting open shots. He did not fill that role today at all, so I would definitely give him a C-.
There was a moment with less than 5 minutes where, the Boston Celtics just caved in on him in the post, and Harris missed a wide open 3, wide left. Wasn't even fucking close. Rob, your take.
Yeah, listen, I'm extremely down on Tobias Harris. I know I said with Al Horford, don't look at the contract. I am going to look at the contract with Tobias Harris. You're paid to be an essential scorer on this team, and you don't do it. You take 3 3-pointers all game. It cannot happen. Ben Simmons is not there, so you now have to be that much better as well. And you come up with that effort is just poor to me. It's pathetic. And look, I know we all love Tobias Harris. He's a good guy, but damn it, if you don't play, you deserve to get the brunt of the bullshit that the fans are going to give you. And I'm giving it to you right now. I'm giving him a D.
Austin.
I've been a huge Tobias Harris defender all season long. And I've been one of the people that says, yeah, he got his market value as a free agent. What do you want the Sixers to do? Not give him the market value he's going to get. People continue to just sort of shit on him because he's an easy target, makes a lot of money. They think that they automatically correlate him with Jimmy Butler, who, by the way, is not scoring at nearly the clip he always has. But I guess we can ignore that because that's part of the narrative people don't want to hear. But he was bad tonight. He was not good enough when they needed him. He needs to be second on the team in field goal attempts in this series, and he needs to, if he's not shooting threes, he needs to be pushing smaller defenders down into the post and getting those little floaters he likes in the lane. His field goal attempt should consist of threes and those floaters. No mid-range bullshit. That fadeaway that he took with a minute and a half left. What the fuck is that shot? It's one of the least efficient shots in the game of basketball right now. You need to be more aggressive as an outside shooter. I don't know why he wouldn't be more aggressive. He shot 39%. After the 23 misses in a row he had earlier in the season, I'll give him a D+. All
right, let's move on to Joel Embiid. 26 points in 37 minutes. He did have 16 boards, 5 turnovers. Man, talk about one of the weirdest first halves by Joel Embiid of all time. Like this guy had 12 points immediately in the first quarter, but had a Thanos amount of turnovers, and it just was incredible. Just very weird, just dominating offensively in the post, and then the Sixers just moved away from it. They stopped. I think at one point in the fourth quarter, we finally saw bully ball. We didn't see it again right after that. Like it just the Sixers' ability to just go away from Embiid in the post is crazy. I don't care how much they double team Embiid down in the post. Like that, just give Embiid the ball down the post. It's not good to say 26-16 is a bad game for Embiid, but I'm going to say it. Like his ability to not impact the game with 5 minutes remaining is a consistent trend that scares the shit out of me. What about you, Tiago?
Yeah, so I tweeted this after the game, and I'm getting crushed for it. But the fact of the matter is, like, you cannot win a game, a series, a championship if Joel Embiid isn't even close to the best player on the court. And he wasn't that tonight. He wasn't even close. So the start was great, and we all saw that. But if you're going to play Joel Embiid 38 minutes a game, you're going to start seeing some of the things that we saw in the fourth quarter. And as he gets tired, that tends to translate into laziness. I don't mean laziness in terms of like he doesn't want to play, but you see him give up offensive rebounds. You see floaters fall well short. You see him take really poor shots, like those dumb fadeaways. You see him turn the ball over. So if you're going to play Joel 38 minutes a game, you have to think about how you're going to deploy him so he's fresh in the fourth quarter when you need him to assert himself into the game. And I don't know how to do that, but that's something I have to think about moving forward. Now, to Austin's point, what he was saying is, we talked about him not being assertive in the post. He's got to own that. When you have Marcus Smart on you, you have to own that. You have to get in there and demand the ball and assert yourself in there. That's not Brett Brown. So it was a little bit of Joel again, being tired, being quote unquote lazy, not lazy from the general term, but just tired. And, I'd give him a B-. You can't have this type of performance from Joel Embiid. You cannot. Simple as that.
There was a moment in like the third quarter where Embiid had, I think it was Jaylen Brown on him in the post. And Tobias Harris just waves him off. And Embiid he had him dead to rights in the paint. And what does Joel Embiid do? He just walks right over to the corner in three-point land. And Tobias runs in like a bull and just, it was either a turnover or you didn't get anything out of it. Like, that's a concern. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I listen, I agree. Look, I know Brett should definitely put it in there that he's got to touch the ball, but I think sometimes Embiid does not show himself down there the way he should. You have to own that position on the floor when you're that guy.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like he goes, they're double teaming me, forget it. And once again, I'm not saying that that's the type, but that can't happen. You want to be a star, which he has said numerous times. You have to own it, and you have to own those last minutes, and you have to learn that when the double team comes, what you should do. Stop doing the same 4-dribble spin move that everyone in Boston knows you're doing and stealing it every time you do it. Like you got the one time he caught the ball, and I mean, he absolutely bullied Daniel Theis down. Like it was almost like comical how far back Daniel Theis was.
That was a great play.
And
it was like a hot knife through butter.
I screamed every effing time. Yeah. I screamed at TV because he can do that every time. And he doesn't. And that's the frustrating thing. And the offensive rebound stat, a lot of that goes on him. So I got to give him a B- as well, even though for the Sixers, he was a big part of the offense, but not what you need from him. He needs to be the best player, like Tiago said, on the floor.
Austin.
I think a lot of what people sort of discount is the fact that these officials, and I mean, these officials are fucking they're horrible. And I get that they're NBA trying to protect the older guys and, keep them safe because they're high risk. But you're lending yourself to a very compromised game with these younger and experienced officials. That Jaylen Brown flagrant was, I saw it coming, but it was ridiculous. It should not have been a flagrant foul. And that was a flagrant foul. The one that he pulled time, the one time he pulled down Burks on that deep shot should have been a flagrant as well. But a lot of times Joel has to worry about foul trouble because he doesn't know what they're going to call. because they're not consistent with it. So he naturally has to be less aggressive in order to avoid foul trouble. So I don't necessarily blame him for like not sealing off his man every possession and basically like embarrassing him as an adult man. But there are times when Joel needs to have one foot on the block, the other outside the lane, and just go to work. But I did think that they did a better job with that early in the game of getting him engaged with deep touches, deep catches. That's what Brett always talks about in his press conferences, deep catches, and getting him engaged and weaponizing him in that way. They did that a good job. They did a good job of that early in this game. They got away from it late, which was stupid, obviously.
But sorry, how much of that do you think is also Boston schemes? Because you can see like they were hedging Tatum, Brown, anybody would just they would cave in down low and almost kind of funnel everything out into the perimeter for the Sixers. So I think part of that is also how can the Sixers get Joel more involved when Boston is clearly making their number one priority to eliminate any type of post touches for Joel Embiid. And that's something that they have to think about because I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, like, you look at Houston. Houston's a team that surprised me defensively because they've gone smaller and it's worked for them. They're a lot, I guess, reckless in how they help and how active they are. They create deflections. They get out in the open court. Boston does that too. They're lanky. They're long. They defend. They're very active with how they defend, and it works and it bodes well for them. And that's how they do it. But oftentimes it isn't the first pass that's there. It's the second pass. What does that mean? That means turning a quick pass pick in one direction and then finding a guy cutting. A lot of times defenses are going to watch for that first pass. They lose track of the guy cutting, and that's how you open it up. That's how he found Matisse Dybal backdoor cut late in the second half.
Yeah, that didn't happen until like the third quarter. You saw Jay Rich, Matisse. I mean, there was just being active off the ball. It just didn't happen until the second half, which they did. They did have a really good third quarter. That was a very good quarter by the Sixers. That needs to be noted. Let's kind of speed this up a little bit. Let's go to Josh Richardson in like 3 sentences or less. Let's give him a grade. 18 points,
next time,
37 minutes.
3 words or less.
Josh Richardson was like kind of the GOAT of that first half, especially. And then, he kind of just at the very end had a quick like 8 straight points for the Sixers. But man, he had an okay third quarter. But this guy continues to be just the outcast of the Sixers roster. And I keep trying to root for this guy, and I just don't get it, man. And it's one of the, we talk about roster construction, and you talk about, the ceiling of what the Sixers can be, and with Ben Simmons out and Jay Rich needed to step up, and it's just so deflating. Thiago, what grade would you give Josh Richardson?
Yeah, I think you watched way too much of the Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray game, and he thought he would kind of duplicate that today, and it was not going to happen for Josh Richardson ever. So I give him a D+. He was not good offensively at all. So.
Rob.
He stinks ass. Nothing else.
I had very big expectations for. Oh, that's already one sentence. Shit. Okay. Okay. Let me narrow it down to this. Need more consistency.
All right.
Need more consistency. Stop dribbling aimlessly in the half court.
Austin, he was never consistent in Miami to begin with. When is this consistency going to come about? It's not going to happen.
I want to know when he's going to defend somebody. Just one.
I think one of the bigger failures that no one talks about with Elton Brand in the front office is the fact that they only got him back in the trade.
Yeah,
you should have demanded Duncan Robinson.
Dude. Absolutely.
Amen. Don't worry, guys. We're going to be, praising Tyrell Terry in like 6 months. So we're all good here. We're all good. It's going to be the next Landry Shaman. It's going to be fantastic. Okay. Let's go on to Shake Milton. 13 points in 26 minutes. He was 3 for 5 from 3-point range. This guy was literally non-existent in the first half, and then just kind of had a great third quarter. 13 points, 5 of 7 shooting in that third quarter. Just he was really part of that spark of what got the Sixers back in the game. Thiago, what grade would you give Shake Milton today?
Yeah, man, tale of two halves. We talked about almost putting Alec Burks in at halftime, and he had a tremendous third quarter. I mean, Boston's going to pick him in the pick and roll, and that's going to be a thing moving forward. But his shot making in this lineup is a real thing. And I thought it was the main reason why they came back in the third quarter. So I give Shake a strong B. I think it's an encouraging game for him. There's something to work on here moving forward.
Rob.
The late offense was much better. It was good to see him hitting some shots, getting a little bit more comfortable with the field of game. My concern is Brad Stevens loves to find that one guy on a team on the defensive side and just abuse him. And I feel like Shake is the JJ Redick role of 2 years ago, where he just kept getting JJ in the bad places. Yeah. And I think he's going to try and do that to Shake. But, I mean, overall, I think Shake gave you some good. He gave you some bad. So I think B-, C+, that range, I think it's fine for him. And that's what you're going to get from him. He's not going to be an A player.
No, but you would like to see a little more consistent, aggression on offense. I think a little bit. I think that's my only take. Austin.
Shake, I thought he was badly outclassed at times on the defensive end. Was not nearly strong enough with the basketball. It was basically like a third grader playing against a seventh grader. Just had no chance. They were bumping him off with like one forearm, and that was all he needed to get him off balance and turn the ball over. Having said that, he played calm, cool, I thought. 13 points, only 3 turnovers. Not a bad showing for his first playoff game.
All right, Alec Burks, man. Let's go, Alec Burks. All right. 18 points in 28 minutes. He had 6 boards, 2 assists, 2 turnovers. You saw this guy when Josh Richardson was really struggling in that first half, man. Just Alec Burks came right in, hit his first 3-pointer, and was just outstanding from I think what is one of the highlights of this game was Alec Burks. I was really impressed by Alec Burks. In fact, he was one of the main guys there with 5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. Tiago, how would you grade Alec Burks today?
Yeah, we talked about like the way that Boston likes to pressure the ball and cut off passing lanes. His shot making, it becomes extremely valuable. And I think moving forward, he's a guy who's going to get more and more playing time, I think. Now, is this shot making going to continue for 7 or so games? I don't know. It seems like he's shooting a little bit above his average. So, let's hope he continues at least for the next couple of games, but he has tremendous value moving forward here in the series. I give him an A-.
Yeah, man. Like throughout this game, like all I could think about was trade Josh Richardson this offseason, re-sign Alec Burks. Because when's the last time the Sixers had a shot maker, a bucket getter on the bench? And it's just, I don't know. That was kind of like, I think what people are going to be talking a lot about tomorrow morning. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think his shot making gives him a strong B+. The only reason I don't give him an A is he may be he's not a very good passer. I mean, he sometimes just threw the ball to the guys in the black jerseys, and his defense leaves a little bit, for us to wish for. But look, he provides microwave scoring for a team that desperately needs it. But like I said, I still would continue to bring him off the bench because you need that guy coming in for that second unit because they don't have it otherwise. Furkan Korkmaz couldn't even get on the court tonight because he came on and just looked pathetic, and that was the end of that. So I'll give him a strong B+.
Austin.
Yeah, I would very, very strongly recommend trying to find a way to get off to get off of the Richardson contract. I mean, he's good value, but $16 million a year, and he just isn't consistent enough. As Tiago said, I would make a very strong plea to try to re-sign Alec Burks. If he gets slower with age, okay, fine. He turns into an overpaid shooter off your bench, but you can't argue with 18 points in 28 minutes to go along with 6 rebounds and only 2 turnovers. That's pretty significant. He's been huge for this team, and you got to think in the past 2 seasons how many games they probably would have won if they had more depth off their bench. They probably would have won the Toronto series if they had Alec Burks off the bench.
All right, let's wrap it up quick. Matisse Dybal, I thought, was absolutely terrific. One of the main reasons why the Sixers were able to get back in the game. His defense on Jason Tatum was absolutely outstanding. Tiago, how would you grade Matisse Dybal?
Yeah, considering the Sixers love to put him on an island with Tatum, I thought he did a tremendous job. I wish they had given more help, but I thought Matisse really settled in the second half. He made Tatum's life extremely difficult after that hot start. So For a guy who's playing on his first playoff game, I'd give him a solid B+.
Rob.
Yeah, I think if the stats are right, Tatum was 2 for 7 with Tease on him. You saw a major difference when he got put on him. So that's what you need out of Matisse Dybal. You don't need 10 to 15 points a game. You need him to defend their best player. He took him out. Unfortunately, nobody could take Jaylen Brown out in the second half, and you see what happened. So I'm going to give Matisse an A- because he's giving you what you need from him on the defensive end.
Austin, finish this off, man.
Dybal, I would give Dybal a very, very easy A. I thought he did a tremendous job against, basically any assignment. He only committed 3 fouls in 33 minutes of play, which is a significant improvement from where he's been. He was generating steals. I would like to see him be a little more aggressive as a half-court cutter and off-ball moving, but I can't complain. I will give him an A.
Awesome. Fully agree. A, obviously. I'm a little biased. All right, here we go. Austin, what do you want to plug?
Not a damn thing. Nothing to plug.
All right. Make sure you check out the feed to Embiid. Everything Sixers in the NBA. That is at the feed to Embiid on Twitter. What about you, Rob? Anything you want to plug, man?
Yeah, man. The madness made its comeback yesterday. Jess and I finally got Jess off of vacation, and we made our comeback. So that's up on the Painted Lines YouTube. And we're looking for not this upcoming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday night to begin our live streaming every Wednesday night. The madness where we basically Jess gives us optimism, and I turn around and say, that's stupid. No, start being negative like the rest of us. So make sure you're tuning in, man. We're back and we're pumped.
Fantastic. Go ahead, Tiago.
Yeah, read the article about Denver and Michael Porter Jr. We just finished up last week. They look really good against Utah. Very excited for the Nuggets this year. And keep on the lookout for our draft coverage. We're going to start covering some more guys here coming up. The Sixers have a lot of holes. They have a lot of picks. And hopefully this time they use them and don't sell them for a Josh Harris yacht. So
Tyrell Terry, baby. Tyrell Terry. Kyron Lewis. Come on, baby. Those have been my guys for like fucking months, man. That's the Jalen Reagor, Rob.
We call him.
Remember the name.
On this one because I don't know. Me and the Reagor. I haven't jumped on the Reagor bandwagon yet.
Brought the punt today, I heard. So good start.
Oh Jesus, really?
Rob, let me ask you this: who scores a touchdown first, Jalen Reagor or Elliott Shore-Parks?
How about that jackass finds the Eagles.com video and he says terrible pass by Wentz, even though it's a back of the end zone play. Like he has no freaking clue what he's talking about. That's why I will continue to subtweet him and be ignored just so I know he reads it because he's that friggin' petty.
My buddy actually went to like a training camp with him like 1 year. He was walking around in like a suit and K-Swiss shoes, and it was like, apparently it was hilarious.
All right, guys. Let's wrap this up. Make sure you follow Austin on Twitter at CurlTPL. Check out Rob on Twitter at Philly_Madness. And that is Tiago. Follow him on Twitter at TScabby for Austin, for Rob, for Tiago, for myself. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.